She laughed at the necklace I gave her, said it looked cheap. I stayed quiet. A week later, her sister posted a photo wearing it with the caption, "From someone who actually cares." My relationship ended because of a piece of jewelry that wasn't even for sale. It was our 2-year anniversary, and I wanted to do something special for my girlfriend, Amelia. I'm a furniture maker. I've always worked with my hands, and I've always valued things that carry a story. So, for our anniversary, I decided to make her something special, a necklace. After my mom passed away a few years ago, I found a small box among her things. Inside was a single, beautiful star sapphire. It wasn't flashy like a diamond. It was smooth, polished, and carried this deep, milky blue hue that seemed to glow from within. When the light hit it just right, a faint six-pointed star shimmered across its surface. It had been my mom's favorite piece, and I knew she'd want the woman I loved to have it, that I spent a month designing and crafting the setting. I'm not a professional jeweler, but I know my way around tools and metal. I shaped a simple, elegant pendant from white gold, something that highlighted the sapphire's natural beauty. When I finished, I felt proud. It wasn't just jewelry. It was a piece of my mother's memory, carried forward on the night of our anniversary. I cooked her favorite dinner. After we ate, I gave her the small box. She opened it carefully, lifted the necklace into her palm, and just stared at it. No smile, no spark of surprise, just quiet confusion. "It's a star sapphire," I said gently. "It was my mom's. I made the setting for you." She forced a smile. "Oh, it's unique." Then she held it up toward the light, too dim to show the star, and said the words that froze everything. "This looks cheap." She didn't sound cruel, just blunt, like she was stating a fact. To her, value meant brand names and price tags. A handmade gift, no matter how meaningful, was just a budget idea. I felt something inside me go cold, but I didn't argue. I didn't explain what that stone meant or how rare star sapphires are. I just watched her set it back in the box and leave it on the edge of the table. Forgotten. I stayed quiet. The next week fell off. Amelia was distant, spending hours on the phone with her sister, Becca. Becca had always been competitive. Whatever Amelia had, she needed better. If Amelia bought a purse, Becca got the designer version. If Amelia traveled, Becca went farther. Their rivalry was constant and toxic that a week later, a mutual friend sent me a screenshot from Becca's Instagram story. My stomach dropped. That it was Becca, smiling smugly, wearing my mother's necklace. The caption read, "Gifted by someone who actually cares." That was it, the confirmation. Amelia had given away my mother's heirloom, twisted the story to make me look cheap and heartless. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation that I didn't confront her. I didn't message Becca. I just saved the photo and let the anger settle deep and quiet. My first call was to my lawyer. He told me that since the necklace had been given as a gift, technically it was hers to do with as she pleased. But because it was a family heirloom with significant sentimental and possible financial value, I could pursue it in civil court if I had an appraisal. I called a jeweler, an old family contact. I sent detailed photos I had taken before setting the stone. He promised a full evaluation. While waiting, I started separating my life from Amelia's. The house was mine, mostly paid off before we met, but over 2 years she had filled every space with her things. Her clothes in my closets, her taste on every wall. We shared a checking account for bills, but I was the only one ever funding it. She used it for groceries, yes, but also manicures, gym memberships, and a constant flow of online shopping. Quietly, I opened a private account, redirected all my income, pulled out my half from savings. Then I went through every joint statement and marked each personal expense she had made. Over 2 years, she had spent more than $20,000 on my money point. 3 days later, the jeweler called. He sounded almost thrilled. "This is an untreated salon star sapphire," he said. "Top quality. Based on your photos and details, I'd estimate around $75,000, maybe more with certification." My hand shook. $75,000. Gone. Given away like a trinket from a mall stored. That moment, everything became clear. This wasn't just about disrespect or carelessness. It was theft, emotional and material. And I had proof. Then Amelia made her move. One evening, she sat me down and said it was time to take the next step. She wanted marriage, and her name on the house deed. It's about commitment, she said softly. I want us to be equals. I smiled, pretending to think it over. That's a big step, I replied. Let me consider it. Inside, I was laughing. A week after giving away my mother's legacy, she wanted half my home that a few days later, her parents invited us to dinner. I knew it was a setup. Her father, Richard, an arrogant banker who had always treated my craft like a joke, cornered me before we ate. Amelia tells me you're hesitant about adding her to the deed, he said, swirling his wine. A woman needs security. You're a good man, but my daughter's used to a certain lifestyle. You should show her you're serious about providing that. I looked at him, calm and steady. I see, I said, and in that moment, I realized they weren't just using me. They were trying to own me. And what about the anniversary gift I gave her? I asked. Did she even seem happy with it? Richard waved his hand, brushing off the question. Oh, that little necklace, he said. It was a sweet thought, very crafty. But you have to understand, son, at this level, a gesture isn't enough. It's about assets, tangible assets. That's when it all clicked. The entire family was in on it. To them, I was just a convenient craftsman, a stepping stone Amelia could use to secure her lifestyle. They saw me as simple, earnest, and easy to manipulate. None of them had the slightest idea that the cheap necklace they mocked was worth more than the car Richard was driving. Now I had everything I needed. The appraisal, the screenshot, the record of her spending, and even the audio of her asking to be added to my house deed. It was time to end this. That I told Amelia I had a surprise plan for her and Becca. I said I'd been thinking about what her father had said, and I wanted to make a grand gesture to show my commitment. I invited the whole family over for dinner that Saturday. I told them to dress up. That would be a night they'd never forget. They had no idea how true that would be. When Saturday came, they arrived all smiles and expensive perfume, the picture of a perfect family. Becca was wearing the necklace. She flaunted it every chance she got, touching it, twisting it in the light, making sure I noticed. I didn't react. I played my part, the polite, reformed boyfriend who had finally come to his senses that I cooked them dinner, poured them expensive wine, and kept the small talk flowing. When the plates were cleared, I stood and smiled. If everyone could join me in the living room, I have something to share. They followed, curious and expectant. As you all know, I've been doing a lot of thinking about my future with Amelia. I realized that I haven't always shown my appreciation in the right ways. So tonight, I wanted to give a few small gifts. I handed Amelia a small, gift-wrapped box. She tore it open eagerly. Inside was a simple silver locket, elegant, but maybe worth $100 at best. Her smile faltered, then recovered. Oh, it's lovely, she said through gritted teeth. Now for you, Becca, I said, turning to her. I don't have a gift for you, but I do have a question. I love that necklace you're wearing. It's so unique. Where did you get it? Becca smirked and brushed her hair back. Oh, this old thing? Amelia gave it to me. She has such good taste. She really does, I said evenly. In fact, her taste is so good, she managed to pick out the single most valuable thing I own and give it away. The room went silent. I reached in my pocket and unfolded a sheet of paper. The certified appraisal for $75,000. I handed it to Richard. He took it, eyes narrowing, then widening as he read. The color drained from his face. What is this? He stammered. That, I said calmly, is the appraisal for the so-called cheap necklace my mother left me, the one your daughter is wearing right now. I pulled out my phone and held up the screenshot of Becca's Instagram story. And this, I continued, is proof of her possession of stolen property, a $75,000 heirloom. The detective I spoke to called it an open-and-shut case. Grand larceny. Amelia's mother gasped. You wouldn't I? I said coldly. For a week, I watched you all mock my mother's legacy and treat me like a fool. You saw me as a walking wallet. You saw that necklace as worthless, just like you saw me. But you misjudged everything in front of you. I stood. So here's the deal. Option 1. Becca takes off the necklace, sets it on the table, and you all walk out of my house and my life forever. Option 2. I call the detective, and Becca gets arrested for felony theft. Your choice. The panic that followed was almost poetic. They whispered frantically, glancing between each other. Becca's hands trembled as she reached for the clasp. After a tense minute, she unhooked the necklace and set it on the table, her face pale. Good choice, I said, pocketing it. Now, get out. Amelia's voice cracked. You can't just do this. I love you. I looked her straight in the eyes. No, you don't. You love what I can provide. You wouldn't know real value if it was staring right at you. And it was. They left in silence, their perfect little world collapsing around them. I locked the door behind them and leaned against it, feeling the weight of weeks of anger finally lift. The next morning, my phone exploded with texts and voicemails. Apologies, threats, desperate bargaining. I deleted them all. By the time I got home from work that night, Amelia's things were gone. All she left was the cheap silver locket sitting on the empty dresser. Word spread fast. Amelia and Becca had a massive falling out, each blaming the other for the disaster. Their parents tried to mediate, but it only deepened the fractures. Amelia tried spinning a story about me being a vindictive psycho who framed her sister, but it didn't hold. The truth, with documents, screenshots, and appraisals, spread faster. People were disgusted. Then Richard struck back. He tried to ruin my business. Using his contacts, he called one of my biggest clients, a luxury interior designer named Evelyn, and told her I was unstable, broke, and facing legal trouble. Evelyn, a sharp, no-nonsense woman in her 60s, called me herself. I met her in her studio and told her everything, from the necklace to the dinner showdown. When I finished, she leaned back and said, "Men like Richard think money makes them powerful. They forget that real value comes from creation, not control. Don't worry, John. Your work speaks for itself. Let's sign a library project today, and I'll make sure everyone knows what Richard tried to pull." That day, his plan backfired beautifully. I didn't just keep my reputation. I secured the biggest contract of my career that a month later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Becca. Her voice was shaky, broken. She told me her life had fallen apart since that night. She'd lost her job, her family was imploding, and she was desperate. "I know I don't deserve it," she said, "but I need help. I need rent money. Would you consider buying the necklace for me?" I frowned. "Becca, what are you talking about? I already have it." There was a long, trembling pause. "No, you don't," she whispered. "The one I gave you was a replica. I had the real one copied a week after Amelia gave it to me. I still have the original." My stomach turned to ice. She had been one step ahead, letting me think I'd won while holding the real treasure all along. "Where are you?" I asked that we met in a quiet cafe. When she arrived, she placed a small box on the table. Inside was the real necklace. Heavier, deeper in color, the star inside shining unmistakably. "I'll sell it to you," she said softly. $50,000. That's less than it's worth. You get it back, I get out of town. I looked at her, desperate, cornered, hollow. I could have called the police right then, but I decided to end this once and for all, my way. "I'm not giving you a dime," I said. I pulled out my phone and dialed my lawyer, putting him on speaker. "She has my mother's sapphire," I told him. "She's trying to extort me for $50,000. My lawyer's voice was steady and cold. "Becca, this is your last chance. Hand over the necklace right now, and my client won't press charges for felony theft and extortion. If you refuse, the police will be there in 5 minutes." Her face drained of color. Her eyes darted to the necklace, then back to me. Finally, she slid it across the table. I picked it up, the real one. It felt warm in my palm. "Thank you," I said quietly, and walked out without another word. That was it. Amelia had nothing. Becca had nothing. Their final move had cost them everything. A few weeks later, I took the sapphire to my jeweler and had it reset into a simple ring for myself. I wear on my right hand. It isn't flashy. Most people don't even notice it, but every time I see it, I remember my mom and the lesson she left me with. Always know the true value of what you have and who you give it to.